You ever look back on a single moment and realize that was the first domino? Not a blowout fight, not a confession, not even a suspicious receipt in a jacket pocket. Just a dinner. Just chicken, candles, and a smug smile on the wrong face. That night, I came home early. No particular reason. Just one of those rare nights when traffic wasn't awful and I'd finished my reports early. Thought I'd surprise my wife, Rachel. We'd been married 9 years, together 12. Long enough to know each other's coffee orders, short enough that people still said, "Ah," when they saw us holding hands. The house was quiet. Too quiet, actually. No podcast blasting from the bathroom. No, "Hey babe" from the kitchen. Just silence and the faint smell of balsamic vinegar, her favorite marinade for chicken thighs. So I assumed she was cooking. Sweet, right? Then I saw it. 2 plates, 2 wine glasses, 1 bottle of our good Merlot open, breathing, without me. Rachel came around the corner, smiling. "Oh, you're home early." I looked at the table, then at her. "Yeah, I figured I'd surprise you." "Uh-huh." She did that thing she does when she's stalling, touching her necklace, fiddling with the clasp. "You expecting someone?" I asked. She hesitated. "Just Claire from work. She's having a rough time." I didn't want her to be alone. I nodded. Not because I believed her, but because I already knew how this game worked. See, I've always paid attention. People think silence means cluelessness. No, silence is data collection. And I had data. Months of it. Late nights. Odd receipts. A weird tan line around her finger where her wedding band used to sit during client dinners. But I didn't say any of that. I just smiled. "Tell Claire I say hi." I went to our room, sat on the edge of the bed, and pulled out the folder I'd been building for 2 weeks. You see, this wasn't just a dinner. This was a test. Not for her, for me. I needed to know if I was ready to stop pretending. If I was ready to drop the nice guy husband act and play the game I had never wanted to join. She thought she was 2 steps ahead. Poor Rachel. She didn't know I'd already passed her 3 exits back. The thing about affairs is, they're rarely as discreet as people think. Especially when the guy you're sneaking around with wears a Rolex Daytona to a backyard barbecue. His name was Brennan. Of course it was. The kind of name that sounds like it belongs on the side of a yacht or a cologne bottle. Brennan was one of those guys who says, "Let's circle back" in real life. Polished shoes, dumb laugh, and that look in his eyes like he's always measuring people for sport. Rachel introduced us at her company's annual summer mixer. "Brennan, this is my husband, Nate." She didn't look at me when she said it. Didn't touch my arm. No hand squeeze. Just words. Brennan smiled, too wide. "Ah, Nate. Man of the hour." "The hour?" I asked, eyebrows up. "Rachel talks about you all the time," he said. "Especially your grilling skills." Now, let me be clear, I do not grill. I burn things. Rachel's the one who takes over with tongs and a spatula and tells me to just handle the drinks. So either she'd invented a fake persona for me, or Brennan was bluffing. Either way, I clocked the lie. "Oh," I said, playing dumb. "That's nice. I didn't know she mentioned me." Rachel's laugh was a half-second too loud. "Only the good stuff." Brennan was wearing a navy button-down, sleeves rolled just enough to show off that watch. That Rolex. The same one I'd seen once in a blurry reflection off Rachel's phone screen when she accidentally flipped the camera. She claimed it was a coworker's. "Probably Brennan's," she'd said offhandedly, eyes never leaving her laptop. "Yeah, probably." The rest of the evening was small talk and fake smiles. Rachel stuck by Brennan's side like static cling. I floated, beer in hand, chatting with some of her colleagues, most of whom were too polite to ask why I looked like I was watching a slow-motion train crash. Afterward, in the car, she said, "You were quiet tonight." "Didn't want to embarrass your work husband," I replied. She went stiff. "Excuse me." "Brennan," I said. "He seems familiar." She scoffed. "He's just a friend. You always read too much into things." I smiled. "Yeah, that's what I do." I read. And read I did. Emails. Call logs. Her GPS history. I'd set up a system by then. Keystroke tracking, synced calendars, even a burner account where I saved screenshots. Call me paranoid. But when the storm's already overhead, checking the forecast isn't crazy, it's survival. The next time Brennan's name popped up, it was a hotel reservation. 2 nights. Downtown. Booked on her business card, but under his name. She tried to explain it away with some story about shared conference accommodations. I just nodded. "Sounds economical," I said. "Very thoughtful of you." She didn't even catch the sarcasm. She was too busy scrambling for control. That's the thing about liars. They're not afraid of the truth. They're afraid of calm. They expect rage. Expect slamming doors, yelling matches, ultimatums. I gave her none of that. Just a quiet nod and another tick mark in the file. After Brennan came the silence. Not the peaceful kind, the kind that vibrates like a loaded spring. Rachel stopped pretending. I stopped pretending. We were two actors who had forgotten our lines mid-scene and decided to just improvise until curtain call. Mornings became silent exchanges of coffee mugs and side-eyes. Dinners turned into DoorDash and different rooms. Her laughter, once mine, belonged to her phone now. I'd hear it echo from the office at odd hours. Always hushed, always followed by a pause and a sigh, like guilt trying to catch up but never quite making it. I didn't confront her, not because I was weak, but because I was working. Every lie she told gave me leverage. Every excuse became evidence. I'd already met with an attorney, someone discreet, sharp, and as emotionally detached as I needed to be. I told him I wasn't ready to file. Not yet. Waiting for something, he asked, eyebrow raised. I smiled. I'm building the coffin, just waiting to pick the wood. The next step was financial. She didn't know I had access to her secondary accounts. The ones she opened for business expenses that somehow included $700 dinners and boutique lingerie shops in cities she supposedly never visited. I printed everything, labeled every file. If I'd been less angry, I could have opened a damn gallery. Exhibit A through Z, the art of betrayal. One afternoon, I left a single page of bank transactions on her nightstand. No note, no highlight, just there. That night she didn't sleep. I could hear her shifting in bed like a raccoon trapped in a dumpster, trying to claw her way back to comfort. She didn't ask about it, and I didn't volunteer a thing. She knew I knew, and knowing I knew made her squirm more than anything I could have said. That weekend, we went to her parents' place for dinner. Still playing the happy couple. Her dad asked me if we were thinking about a second honeymoon. Maybe, I said. Somewhere cold. Rachel choked on her wine. Her mother asked if she was okay. Fine, she muttered, eyes avoiding mine. At this point, it was less about if the marriage was over and more about how I wanted to end it. I had the power, and she knew it. But see, revenge? That's a dish I don't serve fast. I'm more of a slow roast kind of guy. She started trying again, of course. That false sweetness returned, the kind that sounds like a sitcom mom offering cocoa after grounding you. Babe, she'd say, we've both been so stressed. Maybe we need to reset. I nodded, civil as ever. I agree. She smiled. But I think we should reset from different zip codes. Smile gone. That was the first crack. The realization that I wasn't going to beg. That I wasn't going to fight for scraps from a table I used to own. That's when she asked the question, are you seeing someone? And I just smiled. I wasn't. But that wasn't the point. The point was she wanted me to be worse so she could feel better. And I wasn't going to give her that. You ever see a magician steal someone's watch without them noticing? That's what I did to Rachel. I took everything she cared about, her comfort, her control, her illusion of invincibility, and I did it so slowly, so carefully, that by the time she noticed, the stage was already empty. And I was gone with the curtain call. It started with the house. Now, she loved that house. Vaulted ceilings, white oak floors, custom backsplash she just had to have because it matched the light granite with personality. Her Pinterest board had a nickname for every room. And me? I liked it well enough. But I liked what it represented even more, leverage. You see, while Rachel was busy emotionally zip-lining into Brennan's arms, I had been quietly refinancing. The mortgage? In my name. Utilities? My name. Wi-Fi? Definitely mine. Because heaven forbid she miss a FaceTime from her coworker while I'm in the next room alphabetizing betrayal. One Wednesday while she was working late, Brennan's condo, I called a locksmith. New locks. Security system reset. Cameras on the front and back doors. And before you ask, yes, it was still legally my house. In fact, Rachel had signed the quitclaim deed when we refinanced, trusting that her name on the interior design meant something permanent. She didn't even read the papers. It was beautiful. That night, I left her a note. You were always more into open concepts. Figured you'd appreciate some open space between us, too. She called me 5 times that night. I didn't answer. I let the silence ring. She tried the front door around 1:12 a.m. I watched from my phone as the camera caught her trying her old key, frowning in confusion, then dialing frantically. She hadn't been locked out of the house. She'd been locked out of the lie. Then came the finances. Rachel had always handled the grocery lists, but I handled everything else: 401k, insurance, joint checking, car payments. She never paid attention, never questioned where the money came from. All she knew was it came. On time, every month, without fail. Until it didn't. Her card stopped working first. Then her phone bill lapsed. The gym membership she never used got declined at the front desk. She had to call me, the man she emotionally mugged, and ask why her Netflix wasn't working. Maybe Brennan has a login? I said. Click. She didn't like that. But what did she expect? That she could steal from me emotionally, and I'd just keep paying the subscription fee for the drama? Nah. Cancelled. She finally showed up at my office. And I mean that literally. Stormed in like she still had keys to my life. You think this is funny? She hissed. I looked up from my desk like I was meeting a client. Rachel, I said evenly. Did you make an appointment? Cut the crap. I motioned to the chair. Sit down. She did. Begrudgingly. She was dressed sharp. Too sharp. High heels, trench coat, lipstick that didn't match the season. It screamed, I want to be in control, but she looked like a guest star in someone else's episode. You can't just lock me out of my house. I opened a drawer and handed her the quitclaim deed she'd signed 7 months ago. Her signature looked smug, like betrayal in cursive. You mean my house? I said. You signed it over. That was for refinancing. I shrugged. And it worked. The refinance is complete. She paused, blinking. The cracks were starting to show. This is revenge, she muttered. No, I said. This is receipts. She stood abruptly. You're pathetic. No, I corrected. I was faithful. Big difference. She didn't argue, just turned and left, but not before muttering something about her lawyer, which was cute, because I'd already met with hers 2 weeks earlier. Not to file, mind you, just to chat. Turns out lawyers aren't immune to Starbucks gift cards and polite inquiries. I didn't ask for legal advice. I just asked questions. Hypotheticals. You'd be amazed how much someone reveals when they think you're the calm one. Then came the social unraveling. Rachel had always been queen bee among her brunch friends. Weekly group chats. Mimosa-fueled updates. They were so adult, crowd who live for vacations they can Instagram. But here's the thing. Loyalty has a short shelf life in that world. And betrayal? Even shorter. So I gave them just enough. A few screenshots. A date overlap or two. One particularly damning thread between her and Brennan titled, Client Dinner Smiling Face with Horns. I didn't even have to caption it. Just BCC'd the right people. She lost 3 friends in a day. 2 more within the week. Even her sister texted me. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. See, Rachel built a world where image was everything. So I shattered the mirror and left her with the shards. And the best part? I never raised my voice. Never called her names. Never made a scene. Because the quiet ones? We don't break plates. We take the whole kitchen. That's how you bury a marriage without digging a grave. Not by yelling. Not by begging. By being the calmest man in the room while the walls fall in. And the truth? I still wasn't done. Because next came her favorite thing in the world. Her pride. They say revenge is best served cold. I disagree. Sometimes, it needs to be served medium rare, on bone china, with a perfectly folded cloth napkin and a glass of wine chilled exactly to her taste. Because if you're going to twist the knife, you might as well do it in a velvet glove. It started with a text. Dinner Friday? 7 p.m. Just us. Let's talk like adults. Rachel responded almost instantly. Yes. Where? I picked alcove, her favorite spot. The kind of place that charged $38 for sea base and made it feel like a compliment. The place where she once cried over creme brulee because I'd forgotten our 3rd anniversary. I hadn't actually forgotten. I'd just been trying to land a contract that would pay off her grad school loans. She never asked about the contract, just the missed toast. But I digress. The hostess greeted me with that rehearsed warmth. Welcome back, Mr. West. Rachel arrived 3 minutes late. She always did that thing where she'd show up just slightly behind the agreed time. Enough to be fashionably delayed, never enough to be rude. A little power play in heels. She was dressed in emerald green. Lipstick 1 shade too bold. Hair curled. I could smell the expensive apology in her perfume from across the table. I wasn't sure if you were really going to show, she said, smoothing her dress as she sat. I smiled. I said dinner. I keep my promises. The waiter came. She ordered the wine. Of course she did. It used to irritate me, the way she'd assumed control of menus, restaurants, entire evenings. Now, I found it almost charming, watching someone try to grip the steering wheel after the car's already in the ditch. We clinked glasses, toasted to fresh starts, though neither of us said the words. She made small talk. Work. Family. The weather. I nodded, offered a few pleasantries, like we were neighbors and not two halves of a marital demolition site. Then, over the appetizer, she said it. I've been thinking a lot. Of course you have. I know things happened. Mistakes. But maybe we can try again. Clean slate. We've got history, Nate. That has to count for something. I didn't flinch. Just dabbed the corner of my mouth with a napkin. History does count, I said evenly. It's just not the same as a future. She tilted her head. You don't even want to try? No, I said. Calm. Firm. Kind. Even. She blinked. That's it. You're giving up. Rachel, I said, leaning in just enough to keep my voice low. I didn't give up. I just caught up. The silence between us was thick. Not awkward, dense. Like it had weight. Like you could bottle it and use it to press flowers of all the relationships that died quietly. She opened her mouth, then stopped. Then the second course arrived. And so did Brennan. You remember Brennan, right? Rolex. Smirk. The man whose version of foreplay probably includes describing his crypto portfolio. He walked in holding hands with a woman. Not Rachel. Definitely not Rachel. She was tall, brunette, laughing in that way women only laugh when they haven't figured out they're dating a human screensaver. Rachel saw him before I did. Her spine went stiff. Her lips parted just slightly, enough to say something if her pride would let her. Small world, I said, sipping my wine. She stared down at her food. Her fingers trembled just slightly as she reached for the fork. You planned this, she whispered. I smiled again. Not cruelly. Just truthfully. I invited you to dinner, I said. Where other people dine isn't my responsibility. But I made a reservation weeks in advance. I knew Brennan liked alcove. Knew his company had a preferred table, 2 booths over from ours. I also knew Brennan wasn't a one-woman man. Rachel thought he was. Bless her heart. Brennan didn't see us. He was too busy performing for the brunette. Ordering oysters. Doing that laugh he always saved for rooms where he wanted to feel taller. Rachel watched him like someone reading the last page of a book she thought had a happy ending. She looked at me then, and for the first time in months, really looked at me. You're enjoying this, she said. No, I said, but I'm not apologizing for it either. A pause. Then she stood up. Nate, I made a mistake. I thought Brennan. I cut her off. Not with volume. Just presence. You didn't just make a mistake, I said. You made a series of calculated decisions that required lying, sneaking, and rewriting our life one excuse at a time. A mistake is forgetting to buy milk. You engineered an exit and expected me to hold the door. She sat back down. Slowly, like gravity had betrayed her. The waiter returned with dessert menus. She waved him off. You won't even consider anything? I considered. No. Then I reached into my coat and pulled out a manila envelope. Thick. Heavy. Labeled. She stared at it like it might explode. What's that? Documentation, I said. Everything you'll need for the next chapter. You'll find the separation agreement, itemized property division, and full documentation of your little escapades. No need to contest. It's all there. She didn't touch it. Just sat there, staring. Why are you doing this so clean? She asked finally, quietly. You could have ruined me. I stood, adjusted my coat, and left the envelope on her untouched creme brulee. I already did, I said. And then I walked out. No dramatic exit. No slammed doors. Just the simple rhythm of dress shoes on marble and the cool night air waiting outside. I didn't look back. Because I didn't need to. You ever notice how life doesn't give you closure with a bow? It hands you a half-ripped box, a used receipt, and expects you to build peace from the leftover packing foam. That's where I found myself the week after that dinner. On the far side of the fallout, carrying nothing but my name and the keys to a new apartment with an unscuffed door. It was on the 2nd floor. No elevator. No marble countertops. No his and hers vanity. Just mine. 1 toothbrush. 1 coffee mug. 1 closet with only my shirts in it. And silence. But it wasn't the same kind of silence from before. The one that used to sit heavy between me and Rachel at dinner stretching across the table like fog. This silence didn't accuse. It didn't judge. It just existed. My new place had a balcony overlooking a parking lot and a Red Lobster. I sat out there most nights, beer in hand, watching people go in for shrimp and come out fighting over the AUX cord. It was strange, peaceful. No curated lighting, no overpriced candles, no marital tension disguised as throw pillows. Just me. And a side door I'd finally stepped through. Let me rewind a second, because something happened after the dinner. Something small, but strange. Rachel didn't call. She didn't text. Not a "can we talk?" or "I'm sorry," or "I wasn't myself that night." Nothing. Which was, in a way, the final gift she gave me. Her silence meant she understood. Finally. That the version of me she expected to crumble, to plead, to cling, that man was gone. She knew it. And she was smart enough not to chase the shadow of him down a dead hallway. But while she was busy not saying anything, I was busy becoming something else. See, I didn't just move into a new apartment. I moved into a new mode. And it started with something dumb. I bought a red Mustang. Used, obviously. I'm not one of those midlife crisis guys trying to outrun his problems with horsepower. But I saw it online. Clean lines. Cherry red. Leather interior that smelled like ambition and second chances. I test drove it on a whim. I signed the papers 5 hours later. When I pulled it into my new parking space, I stared at it like it wasn't just a car. It was a statement. Not, "I'm better now." Not, "I'm winning." Just, "I'm back." Not who I was before Rachel. Not who I was during. Just me, minus the weight. About a week later, I bumped into Rachel. Not in a dramatic movie scene kind of way. No storm. No music cue. Just the grocery store on a Tuesday night. I was in the frozen aisle holding a box of chicken nuggets and wondering if I was too old to eat like a college sophomore. She was wearing workout clothes and pushing a half-empty cart. She looked regular. Not broken. Not smug. Just like someone who used to be important. "Nate," she said. "Rachel," I replied. We stood there for a second, both holding items we probably didn't need, both aware this was the first unplanned contact since the dinner. I didn't feel nervous. I didn't feel bitter. Honestly, I felt curious. Like spotting a place you used to live and realizing someone else mows the lawn now. "How are you?" she asked. I shrugged. "Good. Learning to cook like an adult." "Or trying." She smiled, but it was tight. Like her face remembered how to do it, but her heart didn't. "You look different," she said. "I am." She opened her mouth like she had a follow-up, then closed it, then tried again. "Did you ever?" she began, but stopped. I waited. "Did you ever love me?" You know, at the end. That caught me off guard, not because I didn't have the answer, but because she finally asked the right question. I nodded. "Yeah, I did. Right up until you made me feel like a stranger in my own life." She flinched slightly, not because it was cruel, but because it was honest. And honesty, for her, was always a sharper blade than anger. She didn't argue, didn't cry. She just nodded, like someone accepting a job rejection they already saw coming. "Well," she said, "I hope you're okay." "I'm better than okay," I said, smiling. She looked down, then pushed her cart away. "Take care, Nate." "You too." And that was it. The last scene. No door slam. No monologue. Just an aisle full of frozen peas and the faint hum of fluorescent lights. Later that night, I sat on the balcony again, beer in hand, Mustang parked below like a punctuation mark. I thought about how much energy I'd spent trying to save a marriage that had been burning behind me the whole time. How I'd confused endurance with strength. How I'd confused her silence with peace. But peace isn't quiet. Peace is motion. It's progress. It's chicken nuggets at 10 p.m. on your own damn terms. It's laughing at nothing and not needing anyone to hear it. It's a shiny red reset with your hands back on the wheel. And when I looked up at the sky, I didn't make a wish. I just exhaled. The first message came on a Sunday. Subject line, "Hey." From Rachel. 2 weeks of silence. Then suddenly, polite lowercase greetings like we were college acquaintances reconnecting over LinkedIn. I didn't open it right away. I just stared at the preview. "I've been thinking a lot. If you're open to it, I'd like to talk." A few days later, another. This time longer. "I'm not asking for anything. I just want to say I'm sorry. For real. For everything." She went on a bit. About the house. About how strange it feels without your coffee mug. And how Brennan turned out to be, well, exactly the man I warned her about. One who liked the chase more than the catch. One who didn't make his bed, didn't care about her almond milk preferences, and certainly didn't delete his dating apps. I didn't reply, not because I was bitter, but because I'd heard all the words before, just never when they cost her anything. She wasn't reaching out to apologize. She was reaching out because she'd realized I wasn't coming back. That's when the tour really started. Her mom texted me next. "She's not well. Just talk to her." Then a mutual friend. "She's trying, Nate. That has to count for something." Yeah, it did count. It just didn't matter anymore. People confuse forgiveness with restoration. I had forgiven her. I just wasn't interested in letting her redecorate the part of my life she'd set on fire. You want a twist? Here's one. About a month into my new life, I ran into someone at the hardware store. Claire, one of Rachel's old friends, the only one who hadn't picked sides, who once told me quietly, "She doesn't deserve you, you know." I barely recognized her. Different hair, new job, whole new energy. "You look happy," she said, surprised. "I am," I replied, and meant it. We talked in that awkward, post-apocalyptic way people do when they've survived the same wreckage from opposite ends of the battlefield. She mentioned how she distanced herself after the breakup. I couldn't watch her blow up your life like that. I just couldn't. I shrugged. "You learn. You heal. You get better curtains." She laughed. Honest to God, belly laughed. Then asked if I wanted to grab coffee sometime. Not as a date. Just as people who knew what it felt like to lose something and still find air in their lungs afterward. Here's how I closed the chapter. I sold the house. Not just because I didn't want it, but because she did. She begged me to let her buy it back. Offered full market value. I smiled and listed it online that same day. To someone else. The final paperwork hit her inbox with all the force of a falling chandelier. She texted, she called, she emailed. "Why would you do this?" I didn't respond. Because when someone turns your home into a crime scene, they don't get visitation rights. And besides, I had already moved on, physically, mentally, emotionally. I watched the sale close from my new place, with jazz playing in the background, Thai takeout in my lap, and no one questioning whether I was emotionally present. I didn't toast. I didn't celebrate. I just felt lighter. That's how you know it's over. Not when it explodes. When it floats away. It happened on a Tuesday. I woke up, made coffee, took a long walk, came back, worked, laughed at a dumb video someone sent me, fell asleep on the couch halfway through a movie. And at no point, not once, did I think about Rachel. No memory. No flash of her laugh. No bitterness. No ache. Just peace. That was the real revenge. Not the locked doors. Not the financial checkmate. Not the dinner humiliation. It was the day I lived a full 24 hours without even remembering the woman who tried to replace me before I was gone. It's funny. People imagine revenge as this glorious explosion. But mine? Mine was a quiet Tuesday with clean sheets, a good playlist, and nothing left to prove. That's how I won. By not needing her to lose anymore.